What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio. This is Stat Diggers for UFC. What the hell is this? We have a 14-fight card here. We're going to break it all down. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk some stats. We're going to talk some fights. It's going to be a very, very fun time and fun show. We are here on a Tuesday. I had to take some time to recover from Vegas. It wasn't only the drinking and the partying, but it was the long flights. It was the waiting. And it was the long driving. It just took a lot out of me. And then on top of that, I had to tape half this card today, and that took another a lot out of me as well. So here on a Tuesday, but here nonetheless, not taking a week off from Stat Diggers, my favorite show. But we are here as always with Uncle Weezy. Weezy, what is up? Are you looking forward to UFC Vegas? What the hell's going on?
What the hell is this card? It's a card. It's definitely a card. There are 14 fights on this card. Some people are probably going to get knocked out here. There's some, low-key bangers. Gennaro Valdez versus Evan Elder will be a good one. Sadykhov versus McKinney. Azaitar versus Prado. It's a card, and we're going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about the stats. We're going to talk about the fights. We're going to talk about the betting lines. We're going to have some fun, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're going to do today because it looks like the UFC is having some fun with us.
Brady, did you conceive another baby at UFC event bathroom? No, I did not. That did not happen. Nothing was conceived in Vegas. All right, Weezy, what I think is more interesting about this card was UFC 290. Very, very good card. It was amazing being there. I've been to a couple cards the last couple years, and that was by far the best card. And we'll kind of just talk about our nights last night. So it's kind of funny. I think I went on Stat Diggers on, I think we did Sunday. And I was like, man, I hate this card from a betting perspective. Everything's juiced to the tits. I told the story to you about how my wife was like, what's wrong? And I was like, everything's juiced to the tits. I can't find any spots. And then I end up having like 23 bets, like 17 units on the line. But the thing, this is what really changed for me over the last, couple years. Instead of like laying a lot of chalk, what I've been doing lately is looking for, dog money spots, looking to, take a chalky spot and turn it into dog money. And that's what I did at UFC 290. I had like 22 bets, and I think 16 or 17 of them were plus money. And the spots where I was laying chalk, I was very confident in. So when I'm going to lay chalk, these days I have to be very confident, or I'm just going to pass. So my 4 chalky spots, I had 3 parlays. The first parlay was the Joe Anderson, Bree 2, Weston Wilson under 2.5 a couple weeks ago. Parlay with Vitor Petrino minus 250. That came out to minus 155 for 2.5 units. I wasn't really sure why money was coming in on Marcin Prachnio throughout the week, but Petrino went in there and did exactly what I wanted him to. It wasn't the most exciting performance in the world, but he went out there, took down Marcin Prachnio and subbed him late, which I wasn't expecting, but that was a pretty easy hit there. My next parlay was the Cameron Simon inside the distance, parlayed with Bo Nickel under 1.5 rounds. Very chalky spots, probably a square parlay, but it hits and it doesn't even come close to not hitting. That came out to minus 146 for 1.5 units. And then my third and final parlay was the Cameron Simon, Terrance Mitchell under 2.5 rounds, parlayed with Jimmy Crute, Alonzo Menafield fight doesn't go the distance, minus 146, 1.5 units. Both of those chalky, but both of them hit. My next spot, this is probably my favorite spot on the card. I had a unit and a half on it and then actually added on another half unit. It was Robbie Lawler, Nico Price, the fight ending by knockout, minus 134, which that line just made no sense there. And that passed with flying colors. Robbie Lawler went out there and he knocked out Nico Price in like 25 seconds. It was the most wild thing. And then they did the Robbie Lawler promo. I lost my voice just screaming so loud because I wasn't expecting. I picked Robbie Lawler with like zero confidence, and he went out there and pulled it off. So that was awesome. I had the Alexander Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez fight doesn't go the distance, as did you, I believe, Weezy, plus 124 for 1 unit, beat a lot of line movement there. And then I had Volkanovski inside the distance, half a unit, plus 250, beat a lot of line movement there. Almost sprinkled the 3, 4, and 5 for Volk as well. The other wins were, this was a good one. Aguilar wins inside the distance, plus 180, half a unit. I was very close to betting the submission prop at plus 280, but I thought since, Shannon Ross is the Australian Malcolm Gordon, I thought, Aguilar might get his first knockout, and he did. So that was good, half a unit, plus 180. And then my final play was Whitaker. Dricus Duplessis fight doesn't go the distance, minus 182 units. Probably should have went heavier on that. That was a very confident play there. And then the losses were just a bunch of sprinkles. I had Pantoja winning in round 1 or round 2 plus 700. I wasn't expecting Pantoja to go out there and for 5 hard rounds. I sprinkled Moreno 3, 4, and 5 for a quarter unit. Those all lost. This one kind of hurt a little bit. Jalen Turner wins in round 1 or round 2 plus 112. Kind of came close in round 2. And then I had some sprinkles on Menafield round 1 knockout, Crute round 2, 3 sprinkles. I had Ribovics inside the distance. That almost hit like 50 times. I had Simon wins in round 2, round 3 sprinkles. Those didn't come close to hitting. I had Tyara sub 2, sub 3. The sub 2 came close. So all my confident plays hit. Lots of sprinkles lost, but came up 4.16 units. Very happy with how UFC 290 went. Very good card. In my opinion, card of the year. Maybe I'm being biased, but really enjoyed pretty much every single fight. Weezy, I know you had a pretty good night yourself. How'd it go?
Yeah, I just kept it really small. I hated that week from a gambling perspective. There were some dogs I wanted to take the shot on, but I just didn't get to it again, and I left some money on the table there. But the bets that didn't hit, fight does not start round 2 for Crute versus Menafield. It didn't go 1.5, but it went over 1. So I lost that one for 1 unit at plus 150. Also lost a real heartbreaker, Dan Hooker by KO at plus 800. I had that for a quarter unit. I mean, come on, that was so close. And then the winning bets were just fight goes to decision for Brandon Moreno and Pantoja at plus 120, and fight doesn't go to decision for Volkanovski versus Rodriguez at plus 124. So I only wagered 3.25 units, kept it really small last week. Won 1.19 units, 37% return on investment. Kept it small, hit most of the spots. And even the spots that didn't work out, the Crute Menafield fight didn't miss by much, and the Hooker KO was that close. It could have been a clean sweep, but either way, we keep the ball rolling on a 2-week winning streak, up 4.5 units over the last 2 weeks. So I'll definitely take that. And rolling into this week with UFC, what the hell is this? I don't know what I'm going to do here. I don't have much on the card, and I might be willing to just kind of stay light on this one as well, Brady. Bankroll management. This is not the card I'm losing fucking 6 units on. I promise you that. I'll jump out of a damn window.
Exactly. Yeah, me and you took different routes last week. I had 17 units on the line. You had like 3 something, but we each came out with a positive result. This week, I can see myself with like 3 units max on this card. I mean, it's a rough one. But before we get started and get into the breakdown, if you guys can please smash the like button and subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We'll be back once again for some stat diggers on Sunday. Next week's card, I believe, is UFC London, and then we end July with UFC 291, which is a very, very good card. So lots of great cards coming up in July. This is not one of them, but we're here to break it down anyway. My connection's being like weird. It says it just keeps randomly like unplugging my mic for some reason. So I'm not sure what's going on. So Weezy, if I get muted, just let me know.
Yep, you got it.
All right. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe somebody was in my office while I was in Vegas. So I don't know. But I'll have to set up a camera next time. But we have Ollie one in the chat. We got Preston in the chats, and I can't wait for UFC Vegas 124 featuring Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington 4. Oh, that's going to be a banger. I cannot wait for that one. We got Iceland Farts, MMA Propaholic. We got 916 Dave. We got Cole Stein. We got Dante. We got our guy Kiwi. Nice to see you, Kiwi, with a $10 dono saying the Australian Malcolm Gordon was a compliment. Shannon Ross is not on that level, and I know I need to apologize to one Malcolm Gordon. Because Shannon Ross is officially the most chinny fighter in the UFC, and I can't think of a close second. Can you, Weezy?
I think he's the worst fighter that's ever been signed by the promotion, period. I mean, if you just want to talk about pure results here, a lot of people, I said that on Twitter, and a lot of people were coming back with CM Punk. At least CM Punk tried. At least he was out there for 15 minutes, and he didn't look great, but nobody was finishing him with the first punch that they threw. And by the way, congratulations, Jesus Aguilar, for getting your first ever knockout as a professional. And when did it come? On the first punch that you threw against Shannon Ross. My word. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. No, all answers are wrong to the question, who's the worst fighter that the UFC has ever signed? If you're not saying Shannon Ross, you're wrong. This guy is the worst that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty funny actually. Aguilar, that was his first knock, and the guy's like a 62-inch reach. It's like that has to be like the shortest reach in the men's division.
Yeah, I mean, like Vanessa Demopoulos can almost like I'll get the last pork chop on the table before Aguilar can, you know, with her T-Rex arms. I mean, come on, man. 62 inches for a man? A 62-inch reach for a not just a man, but a fighter, a man who fights for a living, and he's out there knocking dudes out. No, dudes, no. Dude, he's knocking dude out because he's never knocked anyone else out in his career. My God, man. Wow.
I know. I mean, I bet the inside the distance, but I was not expecting that. I was expecting maybe like a guillotine potentially, but
and everybody that had Aguilar by sub had to be like, you've got to be kidding me, man.
I would have cried because, and that's why I just took the inside the distance. But Probaholic saying I'll definitely be down to -1 unit on beers for this card. It was crazy in Vegas, dude. Like I went up and I was gonna get a drink, and I was like, can I have one Bud Light seltzer? And he was like, all right, that's $19. I'm like, what'd you say? He was like, that's $19. And I was like, okay, just give me a Bud Light. And he was like, all right, that's $19. And I'm like, what? Okay, just give me the dang seltzer then. Like $19 for a beer? What's going on? We need a change. We need a change in this country. That is terrible, dude.
Dude, you know, when I was a very, very young man, Jimmy Carter was president, Brady. And there were lines at the gas stations and shit, and like you couldn't get gas, and there was massive inflation, and it's just deja vu all over again. Only, you know, like Biden is just like even older and even less coherent than Jimmy Carter ever could have been. So yeah, it's getting crazy with the inflation, man. I mean, like everything just costs so much, so we've got to make better gambling decisions so that we can afford to pay for beers at these events that we go to.
Exactly. I mean, I was +4 units in bets, but I was -2 units in beers. So, I mean, overall it was +2 units, which is fine, but it could have been easy like +3 units if beers were like maybe $9. That seems reasonable. 9-10.
Yeah, dude, you got to like start sneaking in flasks, you know, like to events and stuff like that. It's crazy, man. But anyway, at least the fights were amazing.
Yeah, if they were crappy, that would have been terrible. But Juan saying, "What's up, fellas? Come on!" I agree with that Juan right there. We got Snerius in the chat. We got Dixon Cider in the chat. We got Propaholic. I believe I already said you, but I'll say you again. We got Rick the Roller. We got Tupac. We have Only One Dream. We got Jay Bone. We have Raw Torque. We got Mike. We got MMA Locker Room in the chat. We got Kid Chronic Combat Conversations. What is up, guys? Mr. D in the chat. What is wrong with Bud Light Seltzer? I mean, they're a healthy alternative to like a Bud Light. I mean, I don't see nothing wrong with that.
I would never touch that shit personally. I mean, but you know, like you're a health conscious young man.
Yeah.
I drink beers and smoke pot, Brady, like regularly. And when I drink beers, they're good beers. They are not Bud Light or, you know, Miller Lite or that shit. It's stuff that's like 7 loaves of bread in 1 can of beer, you know, like 8% alcohol. That's the kind of stuff that your Uncle Weezy drinks. So I would have never touched that shit.
Yeah.
I would have had a flask of something that I would have snuck in God knows where.
I mean, that's fair, but yeah, I was just trying to watch the cows there because they add up. I mean, I had like
no, they really do, dude. I'm getting fat as shit, man, because
so.
I'm drinking too much beer, man. So yeah, I've got to start. That's why it's water. It's water for a while for me, for your Uncle Weezy. Got to stop drinking all this beer, man.
Yeah, I feel it, but yeah, nothing's wrong with seltzers. I don't know what you guys are talking about in the chat. I don't care what nobody says. I like seltzers. I had my fair share of beers as well. I had some Red Bull vodkas, some Red Bull vodkas, some cranberry vodkas. But
they'll get the blood boiling quick. Yeah. But
when I went to the fight, I did want to do seltzers because I was going crazy, and those calories do add up. So it is what it is. All right, Weezy, let's get into this card. Did I have any food? No, I did not. Not at the fights. We ate before the fights because the nachos probably would have been like $30. It's probably been something crazy.
Yeah,
all right.
Take out a mortgage.
Yeah, take out a couple more. Yeah, for sure. All right. Let's get into it. We have Ashley Evans Smith going against Eileen Perez. We got Ashley Evans Smith, 35 years old, 5'8", with a 67-inch reach. Eileen Perez, 28 years old, 5'5", with a 66-inch reach. We got Perez, 7 years younger. Ashley Evans Smith, a 3-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Ashley Evans Smith, she is 1-4 in her last 5 fights. She had a decision loss to Ketlin Vieira, a submission loss to Sarah Moore-Ass, a decision win against Beck Rawlings, a decision loss against Andrea Lee, and then a decision loss against Norma Dumont. As far as Eileen Perez, she made her debut against Stephanie Egger, and she lost that fight by submission. So right off the bat, so I was not able to start digging into this card until like last night. And I noticed the props dropped, all that. The money lines came out. I didn't really, look into the fights. I didn't really care to look at it. So this is kind of the first time I'm looking at. Can you not do that? I'm doing a show right now. Come on. So Eileen Perez, I'm looking at the lines right now. She opened up minus 450. Minus 450. She's currently minus 190, but she went all the way to like minus 130. And then just over the past couple of days, just money's piling in on one Eileen Perez, which that's fine. I get it. But Weezy, what do we always say, man? WMMA and these favorites have been dropping the ball lately bad. A recent example, Yasmin Haregi went out there and got her ass shaved in like 10 seconds the last time. And there's been so many examples as of late. So should Eileen Perez win? Yeah, she probably should. Ashley Evans Smith, I'm not sure what she's even doing in the UFC right now. But would anybody really be surprised if this went tits up and Perez went out there and lost the fight? No, you probably shouldn't be. So give me Perez to win, but laying minus 200 on Eileen Perez is not something I would ever do in my life. The earlier numbers probably made a lot more sense, but I will not be betting this fight. Weezy, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to bet this fight. No chance in hell. Ashley Evans Smith has been away for 2 years and 7 months. That's how long ago the last fight was. So what the hell are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to know what's in her head right now? Does she care about this? Is she just like fighting out the last fight on her deal? And if she was just fighting out the last fight on her deal, Brady, isn't this the card that she would end up on? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, this is what this card is. It's like, okay, we've got a really good card in London next week. We had a really kick-ass card last week, 290. 291 is 2 weeks down the road. And then here's, that's all the bread of the sandwich. And then this is the shit in the shit sandwich here, because now we got Ashley Evans Smith and we don't know what the hell's going on with her.
Wait,
steroids. Okay.
Wait. She popped for what kind of roids? Hemorrhoids? She wasn't taking steroids, was she?
No, she's pretty yoked, dude. Ashley Evans Smith.
Is she?
Yeah, man. Yeah, she's in good shape, dude. She beat up a dude. She beat a fucking dude in Fallon Fox. Fallon Fox was somebody that was had transitioned to female, but she didn't fucking tell anybody that she used to be a dude. And then she was out there just absolutely smashing girls. And then who did she run into? One Ashley Evans Smith, who fucking put her head through the canvas. And then everybody celebrated because they found out that Fallon Fox was fucking lying. And then after that, that was what got Ashley Evans Smith signed to the UFC, because everyone was like, well, if she beat that dude, bring her in, So, yeah, Ashley Evans Smith, I wouldn't be surprised if she popped for some kind of a performance enhancer. She's big for the weight class, and she's a professional fighter. How many of them are cheating? She's just one of the ones that got caught. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect here. Ashley's a pretty good wrestler, but Eileen Perez has got a pretty good ground game in her own right. Aylin's like 7 years younger. You got to love that. About the same dimensions. But yeah, we haven't seen Ashley in so long. It's really hard to know what to expect from her. And yeah, she's 1-4 in her last 5 in the wins against Beck Rawlings. and she's losing to Sarah Moras. So I mean, it's a tough call, dude. But am I laying minus 200 on Aylin Perez? Absolutely no chance. So staying away from this fight, like way away from it, because with Ashley Evans Smith on that gigantic long layoff, it's a lot of missing information about how is she going to show up and look here on Saturday. So yeah, I'm just staying away.
So I can't interest you in Aylin Perez minus 200.
Jesus, she got to minus 200. I mean, like, this was a lot closer earlier in the week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was like minus 130, I think, like earlier in the week.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense for the younger fighter in Perez, who's pretty she's a bully, you know. She kind of puts you up against the fence. She wears on you, but you know, Evans can fight that game too. So I'm just going to stay away from this one. You cannot interest me in Aylin Perez minus 200.
Can I interest you in any props?
Are there props?
There.
What do we got, dude?
I mean, the fight goes minus 160. The fight doesn't go plus 130.
Where's my prop template? Let's see what Smitty's got on the prop template. How many of her fights have finished? So 3 of 8 for Ashley Evans Smith, 1 of 1 for so 44% of their fights have finished inside the distance, 4 of 9. And the price of the line for fight doesn't go to decision is 43.5%. So no edge either way. So that's another thing you can't interest me in. In addition to a Bud Light seltzer, in addition to this fight, in addition to the shit sandwich that is UFC, what the hell is this? You can't interest me in it.
Can I interest you in some Alex Munoz versus Carl D in the third?
God damn it, Brady. Let's
talk about it. This is my least favorite fight on the card, by the way. And I have a card that has a couple terrible fights, but we got Alex Munoz going against Carl D in the third. We got Alex Munoz, 33 years old, 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. We got Carl D in the third, 33 years old, 5'6" with a 67-inch reach. Same age there. Alex Munoz, 3 years, 3-inch height advantage, and then a 5-inch reach advantage. Alex Munoz, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Hackbrast. Lost that fight by decision. Lost the decision against Luis Pena. At this point, I was like over 2 years ago, I think. Carl D in the third makes his debut. Short notice against Joe Solecki, gets submitted in the second round. One thing that really stuck out to me, Weezy, was the hairstyle choice of Carl D in the third in his debut against Joe Solecki. It was like the Douglas Silva de Andrade rat tail. And Douglas Silva de Andrade, he can pull that off, but I don't think Carl D in the third can. So for that reason, I do slightly lean Alex Munoz here, but he's taken such a big layoff. What's he been doing? We're taking a look at the line. He's minus 155. Any thoughts on this fight, Weezy?
I mean, Alex Munoz has been away from the cage for over 2 years, you know, and he might just be fighting out the last fight on his deal. And if that's what he was doing, wouldn't this be the card, Brady, that he would wind up on, you know, as well as Carl Deaton, who might not even get a third fight, you know, the way the first fight looked. But it was against a very tough opponent in Solecki, and he took it on short notice. So he's got, you know, a lot easier of a fight here in Munoz. But Munoz is a really good wrestler, you know, really good wrestling pedigree, college wrestler at Oklahoma State. And that's one of the top programs in the country. I think DC went there. I think we've seen a couple of, I think even Johnny Hendricks might have went there. But Oklahoma State quality program. Alex Munoz is a really good wrestler. Not much of a finisher at this level. His last 5 fights have went to decision. So I'm just looking for Munoz, who shot 17 takedowns in his 2 UFC fights, to just continue doing that. He saw what Solecki did to Deaton. I'm just predicting Munoz does the same thing. But would I bet it, Brady? A guy on a 2-year and 2-month layoff who's coming off of some knee surgery, I think? No, of course I wouldn't. Even though I don't think Deaton's that good, I respect him enough to know that I'm not just blindly laying money on a dude who's on a 2-year layoff who's coming off of surgery. So, nah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pass for me as well. I do like Munoz here, though. I like the wrestling. I think it's a step down in competition from the guys he has fought in the UFC, Pena, Hackbrast, but the 2-year layoff kind of concerns me. And by the way, it looks like Deaton is still rocking that. I don't even know what to describe it, to be honest. It's probably one of the more intriguing haircuts, I can bring it up, we've ever seen in the UFC.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that is, man.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If this card had a picture,
yes,
it would be that picture.
It'd
be like, UFC, what the hell are we doing? And then it just has that face, that vacant stare, that horrible rat tail. And and the tagline could be, every fighter is either washed up or on a 2-year layoff.
Yeah, missed a spot. He did miss a spot. That's a good name for this card. UFC Vegas missed a spot. I like it. This picture on there. UFC Vegas missed a spot this Saturday. 14 fight card. Let's get it, man.
Let's go. Let's stack them high, Brady. Let's go.
We got to stack them high for sure. Iceland saying the over, which, the over is not terrible because Munoz is not finishing anybody. Oh, my gosh, it's minus 225.
Yeah, it's juice to the tits, man. I mean, what are you supposed to do? And then, look, I laid. Okay, so if it seemed like I was a little bit rough on Shannon Ross, maybe the reason that I was rough on Shannon Ross, Brady's because the first leg of the greasy 4-leg parlay was fight starts round 3 for Ross versus Aguilar. And you kind of figure, right? Yeah, we've seen Ross get knocked around, but it's not like Jesus Aguilar has ever knocked anyone out. And you say to yourself, neither one of these guys is really good enough to finish at the UFC level. But you go out and you lay the juice, and what happens? The first punch that lands, the dude's sleeping. And that's I think that the UFC fucked up and just accidentally put Ross Aguilar, because that should have been the co-main event for this shit stack of an event. I could just see Shannon Ross versus Jesus Aguilar kicking off the main card, on this one, because it was so much more fitting for this card than the last card.
Yeah. Yep. Never mind on the over. Yeah, I mean, I agree that it does go over, but it's just a chalky price tag that I can't lay on a card like this, on a fight like this. I can't be laying the chalk like this on this fight, because maybe they're both so bad that somebody just does get finished, like we saw in the Aguilar Ross fight. So you never know. All right, we'll move on. We got Tyson Nam going against Azat Maxim. We got Nam, who's 39 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. We got Maxim, 20 years old, 5'8" there. We got Tyson Nam is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A decision loss to Zaruk Adashev, knockout win against Jerome Rivera, knockout win against Matt Schnell, decision loss against Odie Osborne, then a knockout. I believe that was a
loss.
Yeah, I think it was a submission loss, club and sub against Bruno Silva there. And then Maxim is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Obviously, the guy is undefeated, and he is making his debut here against the 39-year-old Tyson Nam. So, went and taped Maxim. Really impressed with the guy. I mean, the guy has power on the feet. He can knock guys out. Very good wrestling, very relentless wrestling, really good grappling. The guy's a good finisher for the division. 28 years old, undefeated, 16-0. I think this guy has some solid upside, and at the very least, just a lot more upside than Tyson Nam, especially at this point in Nam's career. Nam, he is 39 years old, almost 40 years old at flyweight. You do not like to see that. Power is the last thing to go, and that is Tyson Nam. That's pretty much his whole game, is that power. He's going to throw no volume. He's going to stand there and do nothing, but when he does do something, he does land very hard. So Tyson Nam does have a puncher's chance here, but at flyweight, it's hard to give guys much of a chance with that puncher's chance only, and that's, like I said, that's Tyson Nam's entire game. He does have solid takedown defense on paper. It is 100%, but you look throughout his UFC career and nobody's really trying to take him down, and he's fought primarily strikers. So I think Maxim is going to test that 100% takedown defense. And if I had to guess, Maxim will take him down at some point and either grind him out across 3 rounds or eventually get, a TKO, a sub. But I think Maxim does get this one done. The only problem I have with Maxim here is this price tag, minus 415 for a newcomer who has not fought the best competition in the world. at flyweight. I can't get to this minus 415. So the under 2.5 rounds, it opened up at it opened up at plus money. So the under 2.5 opened up at plus 150, which I think that was a very good look. And then it went to minus 110. And at this point, it's minus 145. I don't have much interest in that, but I would have liked that plus 150 on that under. The fight doesn't go as minus 170, which is kind of ridiculous for a flyweight fight. So I think this fight does finish, but those price tags just are something I want to stay away from. Give me Maxim to get it done, but I don't see really anything sticking out from a betting perspective. Weezy, you see something you like?
No, not really. And obviously, this guy Maxim's a good prospect, and they're trying to get him started here. Against Nam, 39 years old, kind of like a low volume striker, definitely more of a counter striker for sure. You look at Tyson Nam; he's throwing about 10.73 attempts per minute, but his opponents are throwing 15. He's good, defensively. He's very inaccurate offensively at distance, but he's got that power. He's got 3 knockdowns in 7 UFC fights. He's got 3 knockouts and 3 UFC wins. So this guy is somebody that you have to be you have to respect his stand-up. So Maxim better be careful in that pocket, because if he overextends on something or gets sloppy on a shot, he could definitely get caught coming in by the veteran in Nam, who's still in great shape, who still shows up ready to fight. I mean, there's got to be some recency bias in this line. This guy just knocked out Ode Osborne, and then he loses to Bruno Silva. But Bruno Silva's a stud, you guys. Bruno Silva is a very well-rounded, very explosive fighter, great finisher. So I think Nam's kind of live actually at this number, but I want to see what this kid Maxim has, because he's clearly 16-0. You don't just get there by accident, and he's been in some decent promotions, fighting some decent regional scene names. He's not pulling a Dennis Bondar on us. So, I think that Maxim should get the win here. But at this price, Tyson Nam by knockout, that's if you can get that at plus 500 or better, throw a quarter unit on it. This guy is always live to land a big shot. And he was always known, even though he hasn't shown much of it here in the UFC, he's always been known as somebody that has good takedown defense who can keep the fight standing.
Yep. I was gonna bet the Tyson Nam by knockout against Ode Osborne all week. I didn't do it, and they ended up knocking out Ode Osborne, so that sucked. But looks like Nam by knockout is plus 650, which that's like his win condition. He's not winning a decision, and then he's not obviously getting a submission. So yeah, if Nam wins, it is by knockout. But I think Maxim probably does get it done. Just really no interest in laying any of this juice here. The under, too juiced. The money line, too juiced. The fight doesn't go decision, too juiced. Even Maxim inside the distance is juice as well. So just something I don't really have much interest in at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's I actually cashed on that Nam KO prop against Ode Osborne. So, I'm willing to let another quarter unit fly on this one because that's what Tyson Nam does. The guy's got 13 career knockouts. He's got bricks for hands, and he can hurt you, especially if you're a younger fighter that is prone to mistakes. So you got debuting fighter here in Maxim. Got a lot to find out about him. This is a step up in competition. Somebody that's very experienced and well tested. So we'll see how it goes. Be careful throwing big parlays on this guy.
Absolutely. All right. Especially, with all these dogs, and the dogs have been going crazy like these last 3 weeks. It's been dog city. Like last week, I picked a couple dogs. Like I picked Robbie Lawler, I picked Alonzo Menafield, and I picked another dog that came through. But I was expecting like a lot of favorites to come through. But I think it was like 6 dogs last week, something crazy like that.
Yeah, there were a lot, and I know that I got all of those wrong because, like, I looked. Remember when we were doing the DraftKings show on Pub Sports Radio, and I was like, "Wait a second, did I pick all favorites?" I was mad at myself, but I realized I picked all favorites, and then they were, one by one the dogs were coming through. I'm like, "Oh, God damn it, Weezy, you did it again!"
But you picked your spots, and you won some money, so that's all that matters.
That's right. Came out ahead, so that's always a good thing.
Heck yeah. All right, so let's move on to a fight that I'm actually looking forward to. We have Evan Elder going against Gennaro Valdez. We got Evan Elder, 26 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. We got Gennaro Valdez, 31 years old, 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. We got Evan Elder, 5 years younger. It's Evan Elder with a 1-inch height advantage, same reach there between the two. So Evan Elder is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, made his debut short notice against Preston Parsons, showed a lot of toughness in that fight, lost by decision. And then he got knocked out by Nazim Sadykhov. It was, I think it was a doctor stoppage there in the 3rd round. As far as Gennaro Valdez, so he went on the Contender Series and went out there and got a 2nd round knockout against Patrick White. Almost lost multiple times in that 1st round, battled some adversity, came back in the 2nd, got the 2nd round finish. And then he went out and got dropped 70 times against Matt Frevola, setting a record for getting dropped down so many times. I think it was officially actually like 3 or 4, but I swear it was more like 5 or 6. It was wild. And then he went out there against Natan Levy. I think gets dropped a couple more times as well. This is a fight where I think we're expecting some violence here. This is a Gennaro Valdez fight. I know his last fight went the distance, but this guy's fights typically do end pretty early on. What this line's kind of wild. Evan Elder minus 315 now at this point. Evan Elder opened up like minus 160. But I like Elder here. I think Elder just has a lot more paths. I think Gennaro Valdez is extremely chinny. I mean, this guy gets dropped so many times. I think Evan Elder can knock him out. On top of that, I just think Evan Elder needs to survive probably that first couple minutes of this fight. And if Evan Elder can get on top, like I've seen Valdez get stuck on his back. I've seen him pound it out. If Evan Elder can mix in those takedowns, get on top, he has great ground and pound. I think he can finish him via TKO. I think he can knock him out on the feet. But Valdez, he does hit very hard. He does have some wrestling in his own right, but I don't think it's that great. Very, very sloppy grappling. I don't think Valdez is UFC caliber, to be honest. I think he's exciting. He's a guy that I like to watch because he's fun. But in terms of UFC caliber skills, I don't really see it. So I think Elder goes out there and finishes Valdez probably within the first round and a half. But yeah, it's a good fight. This is probably one of my favorite fights on these prelims, Weezy.
Yeah, it's going to be a real fun one. But, this is the kind of card where this kind of shit happens. What other card of the year would you see Evan Elder minus 310 against anybody in the UFC? I just bet Evan Elder as a plus 170 underdog against Nazim Sadykhov, and he won the first 2 rounds and then lost via the cut stoppage. This guy was just plus 170 to Nazim Sadykhov, and now he's minus 310 against Gennaro Valdez. This shit is getting crazy.
Yes.
There's, so I mean, like, I just can't. Am I picking Elder? Yeah, I'm picking Elder. I think that he's going to be more durable. I think he's more well-rounded. I think he can get takedowns if necessary. And I think he's got more power than Gennaro Valdez does. But Valdez is going to be in his face, throwing a bunch of volume. It's going to be a war, It's going to be a really fun fight to watch. But, I mean, at these prices, you might as well just take a shot on Valdez. Evan Elder is young. He's the younger fighter. But he's the less experienced fighter. He hasn't fought as good a competition. So there's just a lot more we need to know. Valdez got a 100% finish rate. So, I think this fight probably does finish inside the distance, but I'm not laying the massive juice on the under 1.5 here. As a matter of fact, I'd rather go the other way because, I mean, Evan Elder had a gash in his head that would look like an axe cut him, and he wanted to keep going. He was getting his ass kicked by Preston Parsons. You remember that? And he never gave up in that fight. He was in like 7 arm triangles. So I think Evan Elder's pretty durable, and we're going to find. And Gennaro Valdez is just going to keep coming until the ref peels you off of him. So I think I'd rather go the over 1.5 here.
The over is actually juice in this one.
Is it really?
Yeah, the under is plus 125.
Yeah, but that's juiced. I mean, unders in lightweight fights for one. Let me get you the benchmark, right? Because we're paying plus 125. That's 44%, but only 32.9% of fights actually go under 1.2 or 1.5 rounds. So we are overpaying by about 12% according to the benchmark here. And the over 1.5 at minus 155 is actually a trifecta bet on the prop template here. as both of Elder's fights have went over 1.5 rounds, and one of two of Gennaro Valdez's fights has went over 1.2 rounds. So 75% of their 4 fights have went over 1.5, and we're only paying 60% on the line. But yeah, dude, this is bonkers, man. These lines are getting overly juiced to the favorites, and every damn week we're not learning our lessons. You know, Benoit Saint Denis, Luana Carolina, Dricus Duplessis, and Pantoja, and the list just goes on. And God help you if you're laying minus 200 or higher on any women's favorite. Just God help you, because you're gonna need it.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I mean, the only thing really sticking out to me is violence, but like you said, not the best price tag in the world. But the last Valdez fight was actually the first time he ever went the distance against Levy, and Levy's not finishing anybody. I think Levy has maybe like 2 finishes on his record. So I think this fight does finish. I probably will do something along the lines of maybe an under 2.5. Maybe a fight won't start round 3. But yeah, I'm not laying minus 315 on Evan Elder. That doesn't really seem like the best recipe for success there.
No, it really isn't. It's way too big of a price to pay on this kid. But he's good. He's getting better. He's at a good camp. He's tough. He's scrappy. And those are some of the things that Valdez is. I just think Elder's younger and more talented. So I'm picking him to win. But minus 315, not in this economy.
No, not at all. All right. Let's move on to Jack Della Maddalena going against Basil Hafez. We got Maddalena, 26 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. Hafez, 31 years old, 5'11", not sure on the reach there. Jack Della Maddalena, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We have a decision win against Angelusa on the Contender Series, knockout win against Pete Rodriguez, knockout win against Ramazan Ameev, knockout win against Danny Roberts, submission win against Randy Brown. As far as Hafez, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. I see a decision loss there to Evan Cutts. I see a decision win there against Anthony Ivy, and then a knockout win against Evan Cutts. So, yeah, Jack Della Maddalena apparently really wanted to fight. He was supposed to fight the Muscle Hamster last week, which, what a shame. I was actually really looking forward to the Muscle Hamster, but we didn't get a chance to see. And by the way, I was really looking forward to that. I found this picture, and then there was this one as well. I just thought that was hilarious. Like, when I think of the Muscle Hamster, that's what I was thinking of there. So no Muscle Hamster, and apparently like something was wrong with the Muscle Hamster. I think they cut him. I think he had like some really serious health issue. You hear about that?
Yeah, something like Momo something syndrome. Dude, he had blockages in multiple blood vessels that were leading to his brain. If they hadn't have done that MRI, that young man would have been killed out there against Jack Della Maddalena, the way that dude hits. So, prayers up to the Muscle Hamster. Hopefully they get, they found this thing in time, that hopefully that they can get him back to 100% health. I don't know if he's going to fight again, but just being healthy is the most important thing. So hopefully everything goes well for Josiah Harrell.
100%. I was really looking forward to that guy's debut. But yeah, hopefully everything works out with him. So yeah, they bring in this Hafez guy. He's 8-3. He's never been finished. But we have a very juiced under 1.5. It's like minus 205. Looks like Jack Della Maddalena on the money line. Last time I saw was anywhere from like minus 600 to like minus 800. So yeah, this should probably be a Jack Della first round knockout. But just nothing is really sticking out from a betting perspective. Anything for you, Weezy?
Yeah, I was in my Discord for my Patreon earlier today, and I was like, yeah, this guy Hafez, I just wiki capped it. He's been around. He's been in CFFC. He's got a decent record. He went to a draw with a guy like Jeremiah Wells, who's an insane finisher. So the guy's obviously very durable. And I'm like, maybe who knows? And somebody messaged me back. They're like, this guy doesn't move his head. I'm like, ooh, if he doesn't move his head against Jack Della Maddalena, his head is going to get moved for him, and in ways that it's not supposed to bend. So yeah, I'm looking for Jack here, but look, we got to be careful about this, Brady, and here's why. This 2 weight cuts in 7 days is very bad news for any athlete. These guys all cut a ton of weight. This fight, as far as I know, is going to be at welterweight, and Jack just cut and made weight for this fight. Now Harrell had to pull out because of the medical condition, so now he's gonna have to cut weight again. And even Tatsuro Taira, who just had to do that, did not look his best after having, and it's the exact same thing that Tyra did 2 weeks ago. He had a fight canceled at the last minute against Clayton Rodriguez. He takes the fight 1 week later against Edgar Chairez, and Chairez lasts the distance with him, actually. So we got to be careful about this. You're laying minus 700 on Jack right now, and it's going to be minus 1,000 by the time the fight starts, probably. But yeah, Jack should win this by knockout. But once again, it's not a bettable line. I mean, what are we supposed to do with minus 700 against a short notice opponent that Jack was not training for?
Yep, pretty easy pass. Like, I had a bet on all 14 fights for 290 last week. Oh no, 13 out of 14, and the one I didn't have a bet on was the Jack Della fight, and I'm not betting on this one either. I think he probably wins by first round knockout, but it's going to be juiced. Like the under 1.5 is minus 205, which is kind of crazy considering this guy has never been finished, but he probably does. He probably is the first one to finish him here, but I'm not laying minus 205 for it.
Yeah, I mean, I would bet the over. I mean, that might be something I even sprinkle just a little bit, just because, like I say, 2 weight cuts in 1 week, an opponent that you didn't train for and that you still probably know very little about, and he's never been finished. Jeremiah Wells didn't finish him, so maybe he can last 7.5 minutes with Jack Della Maddalena at that big plus money number.
Yeah, I don't bet overs, but I totally get it. I'm gonna get a shirt that says no overs because I just can't bet an over, man. I just can't bring myself to do it. I almost did 2 weeks ago in the freaking. My goodness, don't want to get demonetized nowadays. The Noir Saint Denis fight. I almost bet the over there, but ended up passing, and thank goodness. Oh, and yeah, the Kevin Lee fight as well.
Oh, that one burned me on a prize picks play. Another one that was not even close to cashing the over, but I just hit the over on the Pantoja fight, but he looked dead between rounds. I kept thinking like, oh my God, this is the round that Pantoja is going to gas, and it never happened, dude. But the guy looked dead on the stool between every round. I was like, I couldn't believe that he never gassed. His gas tank looked incredible, but yeah, Pantoja just cashed me a fight goes. So
there you go.
But they're yeah, Brady, you're doing the right thing by not betting them. No matter how profitable they are, they're really way on your soul, man.
For my health. WMMA favorites and overs, they just really take a toll on your mental health.
They really do. I'm living proof.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Let's keep it moving. Oh boy. We have Austin Lingo going against Mel Costa. We have Austin Lingo, 28 years old, 5'10" with a 70-inch reach. We got Costa, 26 years old, 5'10" with a 71-inch reach. We got Costa 2 years younger, same height. Costa with a 1-inch reach advantage. We got Austin Lingo. He is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. His debut against Salau lost that by decision. I believe he was a favorite in that fight too. He beat Jacob Kilburn by decision, beat Luis Saldana by decision, and then lost by submission against Nate Landwehr. As far as Mel Costa made his debut against Thiago Moises, lost that fight by submission. So yeah, Mel Costa, a pretty big favorite here. I'm not too impressed with him at all. I think I will be fading him in the very near future. I think his takedown defense is pretty bad. His striking's decent, has a lot of tools on the feet, love his kicks. But I think he has a serious hole in his game, which is that takedown defense can be stuck on his back. And then obviously, I bet the Thiago Moises submission prop in his last fight because of that. Luckily, he's fighting Austin Lingo here, who is a boxer, and that's really about it. So Costa should have more tools on the feet with the kicks. If anybody's going to take this fight down to the mat, it's probably Costa. So I like Costa here, but I don't think he's that great to be laying minus 200 or anywhere near that on. So this is a big pass spot for me. If anything, it's a dogger pass, but another fight I just don't want nothing to do with. Mel Costa minus 200 favorite. Lingo plus 170. No thanks. Any thoughts here, Weezy?
It was Austin Lingo's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday 29 years old, Austin Lingo. Let's hear it for Austin. Yeah, it's so hard to know what to do with this fight. I mean, I think Malcazal Costa is pretty good. He's good everywhere, right? He's one of these guys. He's got 25 professional fights, got over 230 minutes in the cage. The striking is there. He's a southpaw. He's got good kicks. He's got a good ground game that you see on the regional scene. He's got 6 wins by submission, 7 wins by knockout, and 6 wins by decision. So, this guy is a guy who could take multiple paths to victories. And with Lingo's tough. He hits hard. But I just don't know how the hell he wins fight. I mean, he's got a win over Luis Saldana, who's a really good striker, but Saldana's gas tank is terrible. So I'm sure Lingo probably lost the first round of that fight, and then he probably won the last two. And the wins aren't that impressive, and then a lot of the wins prior to the UFC were like 10-second knockouts, which tell you nothing about the young man. He trains at a good camp, but Melk is more experienced. Melk's got a 1-inch reach advantage. I think Melk's probably fought the better brand of competition on the whole in their careers. And we might be able to count on Melk actually getting a takedown or two. But I'm not laying juice on Melchizedek Costa, but like if I'm asking myself, all right, maybe I'm betting on Lingo, where do I think he wins this fight?
It'd have to be by knockout. Like Costa's striking defense isn't that great, but Austin Lingo's not really knocking guys out in the UFC.
No, he's knocked nobody out in the UFC. And I mean, he came into the UFC as a guy who was like supposed to be like punting dude's head in the cheap seats. So we're just not seeing it. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'll pick Costa, but I just don't know what to do with this one.
Yeah, minus 200. It's a tad much for my liking, but as far as a pick, I'll pick him to win. The fight doesn't go minus 110. It's about a pick 'em. I have no clue because Austin Lingo is tough. So I think if Costa does finish him, it probably will be like a submission.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, like Costa can get it done in a number of different ways. Both of these guys have been finished in half of their pro losses. It's one of those fights that I'm not willing to lay the juice on Costa, but I don't find a plus money bet on Lingo that compelling either.
That's how I feel about this whole card.
I know, man.
Like I don't like this, but I don't like that. Yeah.
And this is the kind of card where it's like if you don't have any good reads, you probably don't want to go and watch more tape because you might just talk yourself into something that just could easily. I mean, anything on this card could just go tits up, and I wouldn't be surprised about it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna tread very lightly on this one. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We have Viktoriia Dudakova going against Istela Nunes. We got Dudakova, 24 years old, 5'5", with a 67-inch reach. Nunes, 30 years old, 5'4", with a 66-inch reach. We got Dudakova 6 years younger, 1-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Dudakova is 5-0 in her last 5 fights, had that decision win in her last fight against Maria Silva. As far as Istela Nunes, she is 1-4 in her last 5 fights. She had a submission loss to Ariana Carnelosi in her debut, a decision loss against Sam Hughes, and then a knockout loss against Yasmin Jauregui. So Dudakova, she is a decent-sized favorite, and I think she should go out here and honestly potentially even get a finish in this one. But again, minus 200, WMMA favorite. A lot could go wrong. I still think Dudakova is a little green. I think she has some holes in her game in terms of the striking and general striking defense. But I think Istela Nunes, she's good early, but she slows down like massively as that fight goes on. In like every single round, like her gas tank is a serious issue. But early on, Nunes is actually really solid. She was beating up Sam Hughes early on in that first round. She actually dropped Yasmin Jauregui in the first round. It looked good in the first round. It's just once that fight hits the second, third, there's some serious problems. So I think Istela Nunes might even win the first round here. It's just as that fight goes on, you cannot trust her. So I think Dudakova potentially gets a late finish here. The fight doesn't go as minus 105. I was maybe hoping for plus money there, but not going to happen. Give me Dudakova to finish Nunes down the stretch, but minus 200, I don't love it. It's probably a good live betting spot because Nunes probably, like I said, wins this first round. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is just this week's version of Luana Carolina versus Ivana Petrovic, isn't it?
It is.
Where you got a little bit more experienced fighter here in Nunes, who's the big underdog to the girl that's making her debut with a 6-0 record against unproven competition. Yeah, and a bunch of people are going to parlay up Dudakova, and they're gonna go skipping to the window, being like, Dick's Insider already saying that she's now she's his wife, so we all got to keep our hands off.
With their apple teenies and Bud Light seltzers.
That's right, with the Bud Light seltzers with like the pink umbrella hanging out of it, and then you got Dudakova tickets, and you're parlaying her with every hot girl for the next 3 weeks. I'm telling you, this one, that's okay. But Yeah, Nunez is going to be dangerous early. Jauregi's a really good striker, and Nunez dropped Jauregi early in the fight. But whenever anybody pushes a grappling heavy pace against Istela Nunez, she breaks like a twig, Brady. And Viktoriia Dudakova got like 4 takedowns on 7 attempts in her DWCS fight. When you watch the tape on her, she seems to be comfortable everywhere. She looks good, you know. She looks like she might be ready. You don't have to be that great to be ready for the lower levels of these divisions. So, yeah, I think Dudakova probably does get the job done here because Nunez has shown massive holes in her game, and it was the same hole that we saw in the Carnelossi fight. It was the same hole that we saw in the Angela Lee fight in two fights before she made her UFC debut. Same hole we saw in the Hughes fight. Same hole we saw in the Jauregui fight. All right, so why wouldn't Viktoriia Dudakova just do the same damn thing that everybody else has done in order to beat Nunez, which is don't play Nunez's game, don't stand at range with her, make her grapple. And when she has to grapple for 6-7 minutes straight, she's going to realize this isn't going my way. I'm just going to find the way out. So, yeah, I mean, probably the fight doesn't go to decision because I could see Nunez landing a big shot early, or I could see Dudakova wearing her down and getting a great late ground and pound finish. So, yeah, I like Viktoriia to get the job done here and Istela Nunez to get her walking papers. But Viktoriia's got to fight Viktoriia's fight, not Istela's fight. It's going to be very important. And when you got these debutantes, 6-0 record, you think you can count on them to do the right thing sometimes. But sometimes, Brady, that's just not the way that it works out. And how many times does it go tits up when we're watching these big women as MMA favorites that are making their UFC debuts?
All the time.
Every damn time.
Yeah.
Almost. Not every time, but yeah, enough to
Feels
be like
it, yeah.
I'm not laying juice on this girl. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Not this week. In this economy, too, Brady. Yeah. This economy is just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, we got Bud Light seltzers, $19. We got
on.
Dudakova, -205. I mean,
Dude, I think that's what happened in Germany just before Hitler got elected. It was like $18 for a Bud Light seltzer. And then shit just started hitting the fan. And before you know it, all of Europe is on fire, and our boys are on planes going over to France to storm the beaches in Normandy. I've seen it all before, Brady.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. So this is kind of disappointing. The under 2.5 opened up +195.
That's a bet. That's a bet, but I have a feeling it's not even close to that anymore.
And it's +110 now.
Yeah. Yeah, no thanks.
We got KCOH. What is up with the $2 donut saying Duda finishes a $100 to win 1,000 tennis parlay hedge.
So Duda finishes 100 to win 1,000. So he's got a 10 to 1 ticket with Duda as the last leg, hopefully. So he's asking, should he hedge out? If you want to hedge out on Istela Nunez first round knockout, that's probably how I would do it, because I think if it gets out of the first round, Istela is probably not landing a big shot.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't have parlayed that in the first place, but I think it probably still hits. But yeah, like Weezy's White, if you got a hedge, it's probably the first round KO.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably your best win condition.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, KCOH. All right, let's keep moving on. We have Tucker Lutz going against Melsik Baghdasaryan. We got Tucker Lutz, 28 years old, 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. Baghdasaryan, 31 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. We got Tucker Lutz, 3 years younger. We got Melsik with a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Tucker Lutz, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He had a couple decision wins on the Contender Series against Black legend Chase Gibson. Made his debut against Kevin Aguilar, won that fight by decision. He lost by decision against Pat Sabatini, and then he lost by submission against Daniel Pineda. As far as Melsik Baghdasaryan, had a decision win on the Contender Series, and then he knocked out Colin Anglin in the second round of his debut. won a decision against Bruno Souza, and then lost by submission against Joshua Kulabau. We have a striker versus wrestler matchup here. Tucker Lutz is a solid striker, but he's not going to want to strike here with Melsik Baghdasaryan. He's going to go out there and try to take him down early and often. We have a line that is, let's see, where is it? Oh, my. Okay, so it was like minus 208 for Melsik, but money's came in on Tucker Lutz at this point, which makes sense. I think it's a competitive fight here, but I like Melsik. I like his striking. He has a ton of tools on the feet. It's just, I guess the big question is he going to be able to stuff the takedowns? And if he does get taken down, is he going to be able to pop back up? I lean towards him doing so. If this fight does go the distance, you're probably going to have like the control of Tucker Lutz versus like the big shots of damage of Melsik. I lean that way. I think if there's a finish in this fight, it's absolutely on the Melsik side, as Tucker Lutz is not finishing anybody. So I like Melsik here, whether it's by decision or knockout. I think he gets it done. And yeah, minus 210 was crazy. But if this line keeps coming down, I might take a hard look at Melsik Baghdasaryan because money is pouring in on Tucker Lutz. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, it's going to be that one at a time, super powerful striking of Baghdasaryan with those really heavy kicks. I mean, the goddamn those heavy kicks that he throws. And most of the stuff does come from that left side, the power side from him, whether it's that straight left or whether it's the big kicks from the left leg. But Tucker Lutz has got really nice boxing. He throws a lot of volume. Tucker Lutz at distance, Brady, is throwing 14.9 distance strike attempts per minute. And Baghdasaryan is only attempting 8.39. So you got one guy who's 2.9 strike attempts above the average for the division and another guy who's 3.61 below it. So there are situations where Lutz can win minutes in this fight. And the thing that we have to look at is Melsik Baghdasaryan has 3 UFC fights, and he's only faced 5 takedown attempts. He's going to probably see 5 takedown attempts in the first round of this fight. So this is a styles make fights type of thing. Baghdasaryan, it looks like a fantastic kickboxer when he gets to stand at range with somebody not pressuring him, not trying to take him down, and he gets to just land those bigger shots at distance. I don't think that this is going to be that kind of a fight. And I think if Tucker Lutz really pushes that grappling heavy game plan, that he could take Melsik out of this fight quickly and really get him playing defense and put him in a situation where those arms fill up with blood. Those kicks are coming a lot slower, and he's a lot more reluctant, Brady, to throw the kicks due to them maybe getting caught or him getting taken down off of them. I think Lutz is a sneaky spot here. We can't forget how highly regarded this guy was coming into the UFC. He beat Aguilar pretty cleanly. He was close on the line with Pat Sabatini because Pat Sabatini was coming off a loss before that fight. And then he was a minus 250 favorite against Daniel Pineda, who's an excellent grappler and who's got a ton of power on the feet in his own right. So I think that this is a buy low spot on Tucker Lutz if he can get that grappling game going. And since we're not seeing Melsik just like deading dudes at the UFC level, I'm worried that this fight goes the distance and that Tucker pushes a pace that Melsik's not able to keep up with.
Yeah, I think it could be right, but not now. I mean, Lutz was plus 180 for a while, like weeks. He was plus 185. Now he's only plus 124. So I guess I get the early dog money because it is a striker versus wrestler matchup. But I kind of agree with KCOH here. And it's funny, I was actually thinking the same thing. This feels a lot like the freaking Kirk Ribovics fight last week, where you had Kirk, the guy that's looking to get the fight down to the mat. And you had Ribovics, the really good striker. Kind of feels like that to me. I think, Lutz is going to have to get the fight down to the mat. I know the numbers may not suggest it, but I really do think Melsik has so much more tools on the feet. Lutz got dropped by a 40-year-old Pineda his last fight. So it could be a close fight, though. We'll see. But I'm going to take Melsik here, and I'm going to see where that line goes throughout the week. I don't really have a strong lean on whether this fight finishes, though. Like I said, Lutz is not finishing anybody. If there is a finish, it is probably Melsik, but I don't know. The fight is about a pick, a minus 120, minus 110 that doesn't go. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's right about where it should be. I think when I was looking at my prop template earlier, that one is priced exactly where it should be. And what a fight that Ribovics-Kirk fight was, huh, man? That was nuts, dude. What a war that was, back and forth fight. Big ups to both of those dudes. But yeah, I think I'm going to pick Tucker Lutz here, but I would have much rather gone him at plus 180. At plus 120, I'm not going to the window for that.
Yeah, even at plus 180, I would have took a hard look there. Probaholic got plus 186. There you
Yeah,
go.
that's a good line. Well, Propaholic's just killing these lines, dude. He's
Oh,
getting
I know.
such good lines and being prepared early in the week. When those lines come out with your reads ready is how you really beat line movement and be a long-term winner. And Propaholic's doing a great job of that right now.
Well, the thing with Propaholic is he wakes up early, and I think that's
This prick, he's got a job. He's got a real job. So he wakes up early. And the rest of us people who are out here living on by the seat of our pants, Brady, these lines are passing us up there. Who wakes up at 9 o'clock in the morning? I didn't even know there was a 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I did.
That's a thing, right?
It might be. I don't know, but yeah,
I don't know, man.
A little too early.
I've been writing my congressman trying to be like, how the hell are you letting Bet Online release lines at 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning? This does not work for your Uncle Weezy.
No, it does not. So I guess they're dropping the lines at the right time when many people are sleeping. So 9 o'clock Eastern time AM. That is early. That's 6 o'clock in the West Coast. I mean, that's smart. That's smart of them. But yeah, Propaholics, he's up and ready to go.
Yep, and he's smashing those lines as a result of it.
Yeah, maybe I should start waking up earlier.
Yeah, just call me if you see the lines opening. You know, I'll hear the phone.
Yeah, that is good stuff, Propaholic. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We have my main event of the night, my favorite fight in the card. We got Terrance McKinney going against Nazim Sadykhov. We got McKinney, 28 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Sadykhov, 29 years old, 5'10" with a 69-inch reach. We got McKinney 1 year younger, same height. McKinney with a 4-inch reach advantage. We got Terrance McKinney, who is, let's see, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. I was doing the math. 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Sadykhov, who is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We have Sadykhov, who made his debut against Evan Elder, won that fight by knockout, had a very good performance on the Contender Series by knockout, 3rd round, beat the crap out of the guy. So, yeah, I like both these guys quite a bit. Terrance McKinney, his stock might have dropped a little bit. You know, he had that Dober fight, which it is what it is. And then the Bonfim fight, where I think his stock just like really dropped there. In a fight where we saw a different Terrance McKinney for the first time in his entire career. You know, this is a guy with 18 fights, all 18 fights, finishing inside the distance. This guy, I don't think has ever been over 2.5 rounds. He's been to the 3rd round 1 time his entire career. And then in the Bonfim fight, we see Terrance McKinney kind of take his time a little bit. He's not, you know, going out there being wild. And we see him wrestling a little bit. And he still slows down. And he looks really bad in the 2nd round. It gets, you know, kneed in the face, knocked out. I didn't like that performance from McKinney. You know, it's not the fact that he lost. It's just how he lost. He didn't give himself much of a chance. He didn't do anything. So I think we might see Terrance McKinney go back to his old ways here. That is what he said on Twitter. So we'll see if he does or not. He needs to. That's what makes Terrance McKinney. I hate when these fighters, you know, they make it to the UFC and then they try to change things and it just doesn't work. Terrance McKinney is a complete wild man, and that's kind of what got him to the UFC. You know, because it's so hard to prepare for. You know, if McKinney goes out there like a madman, you know, flying knees, you know, head kicks, you know. He can go out there and surprise a lot of guys and get him out of there early. But if he takes his time, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work for him in the UFC. Sadykhov's a guy that I think has made a ton of improvements throughout his career. He's training at, you know, with Longo and them. This is a guy that you watch his tape like a couple years ago. He is making some mistakes. He is getting taken down. He is a little bit of a slow starter, but I think he's really starting to put it together. This is a guy that can really do it all. I see him get into a ton of dominant positions. I see him taking guys' backs, you know, getting into mount. This guy has a ton of power on the feet. We've seen that in the Elder fight and on the Contender Series as well. I think Sadykhov has a lot of upside here, but he's going to have to weather a massive, massive storm here in the 1st round, because McKinney can finish just about everybody in the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the fight. But after that first half of a round, McKinney does fall off a cliff. So I think it's McKinney early, or I think it's Sadykhov. Could be early as well, but if this fight does reach the 2nd round, it 100% does favor Sadykhov here. I think McKinney might try to wrestle in this matchup as well, you know, getting the fight down to the mat, trying to get Sadykhov out of there. But if he's not successful getting him out of there in that first round, I think his cardio is really going to fall off a cliff. And I think Sadykhov gets him out there late. What I like here first and foremost is violence. Terrance McKinney fights, they typically finish inside the distance. I think he's been over 1.5 rounds only once in like 18 fights, which is crazy. So I think, the under 1.5, although it's juiced, it's probably not juiced enough for a McKinney fight. Fight won't start round 3. It's one of the most violent fights on the card here. So I'm actually going to pick Sadykhov to win this fight, but I'm fully aware that McKinney definitely has a shot here. 100% does. But he has about 2.5 minutes in my opinion. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this banger?
Yeah, I mean, I bet against Sadykhov last time, and I'll bet against him again this time, just because, McKinney's more experienced. I think he's the much better grappler, to be honest with you. I think that Sadykhov might be the better submission grappler, but, I mean, Terrance McKinney's wrestling is phenomenal, but he just doesn't have the gas tank to push it. So he's got to, kind of make that decision based on what opponent he has in front of him. Okay, do I go balls out with the grappling in the first, or do I go balls out with the striking? Because pacing himself doesn't work. It's just not, I mean, that's just not how he's ever won a fight, and it's too late to change now. It might not be too late. Like he could train and shit and get better and find ways to be a better minute winner with his wrestling and work on that gas tank. But we all know what makes him very dangerous, and it's the striking. And it's the reckless, go forward, try to get you out of there attitude that he has, that he brings into the cage. I'm not giving up on Terrance yet, just because he lost to Ismail Bonfim. He was this close to having Drew Dober out of there. He beat Matt Frivola. He made it look really easy against Fares Ziam, and then Ziam came out there in his next fight and looked fucking phenomenal as an underdog against Figlak. This guy's still only 28 years old, too, in McKinney, and he's just had a lot more experience than Sadykhov. He's got that really good wrestling background, and he's got the one-touch power. Sadykhov, if he doesn't cut Elder, he loses that fight, because he was actually losing on the scorecards in that fight. So Elder was pretty close to actually cashing that against Sadykhov there. So I think that McKinney's actually going to get Sadykhov out of there in the first round. I'm going to call first round submission. I think he gets to the back and finishes it off. But it's such a good fight, dude. This is one of the reasons to watch the card. There are like 3 or 4 really good fights on this card, and this is definitely one of them. And the next one should be a fun one if we get the Argentinian Drew Dober version of Francisco Prado instead of the one that showed up against Jamie Malarkey, because that version of Francisco Prado sucked.
Absolutely. So we have a Sadykhov minus 145, McKinney plus 125. No point in playing the McKinney money line. I mean, if you play McKinney, you probably got to play him inside the distance, which is plus 160.
Plus 121? Oh, okay.
Plus 160, actually. That's actually kind of generous, right? I mean, I was
I
thinking
think so. Is he winning? Is he winning? Can you imagine if Terrance who has a bet? Raise your hand if you're in the chat right now and you have a Terrance McKinney by decision bet. I want to hear about it, because I think you'll be the first person ever.
Yeah, McKinney by decision, by the way, plus 1,100.
That's a nice line, dude. Yeah, and I think that could even be plus 2,000.
Yeah, McKinney round 1 plus 225. There you go. It's not as bad as I would think it would be.
Plus 225?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. So that's probably his money line, to be honest. Yeah, let's see. The fight doesn't go minus 500 makes sense. The under 1.5 minus 175 makes sense. All chalky, all probably hit there. Rick saying, I think McKinney's cardio is fine. You just got to pace himself, do 28-9. I haven't seen one fight where his cardio is fine, to be honest. Every time he gets extended, he just got, even like in the freaking Bonfim fight where he did pace himself, he looked tired. It was weird. Yeah,
there was something going on with Terrance there. He looked like garbage in that fight. And I think that there's some recency bias on this line, but not enough recency bias. I kind of feel like he looked so bad last time out. And then we saw Bonfim just get absolutely destroyed by Benoit Saint Denis. So, the loss isn't aging well. So I was kind of expecting to get McKinney at even better a price, but this is going to be a really fun fight.
Why not play his money line? Because I just don't see him winning a decision. And quite frankly, I don't really see him winning in like round 2 or round 3. So, but I'm not touching probably any McKinney props unless we'll see what FanDuel and DraftKings has. Got the under 1.5 at -115. Yeah, that's wild. It's like -175 now. That's crazy. -115 for a Terrance McKinney under is just ridiculous.
Yep, it really is. It's a fantastic line, and you got to smash it when you see something like that.
Yeah, that's wild. I think we might need to hire a propaholic. Just wake us up and give us a call whenever props drop like that, because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and they're never there for more than like 3 or 4 minutes, especially when you get like a -115 for an under 1.5 in a McKinney fight. That's going to be there for 2-3 minutes. By the time your phone rings, it's already -150.
Yeah, it's wild for sure. All right. Let's see what else we got in the chat here. You're refreshing the lines for like 2 hours. Goodness, man.
Yeah. That's dedication.
Yeah, it is. McKinney's money line is round 1. Yeah, I think so. All his wins in the UFC that have came in round 1. And I think he has maybe one win or 2 wins outside of round 1, something like that. When he does win, it's typically is in round 1.
Yeah, he's definitely a front-loaded fighter.
All right, let's move on to another good fight. We got Ottman Azaitar. I mean, good in parentheses. I mean, I'm looking forward to this fight just because it's going to be a violent fight, but I don't think either of these guys are that great. But it's going to be like a fun fight, but not a ton of name value here. We got Ottman Azaitar going against Francisco Prado. We got Azaitar, 33 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach. Prado, he's 21 years old, 5'10" with a 71-inch reach. We got Prado like 12 years younger. We got Prado with a 2-inch height advantage, same reach there. Ottman Azaitar, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Teemu Packalén, won that fight by knockout, and he knocked out Kama Worthy, and then he got knocked out by Matt Frevola. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Prado, he made his debut against Jamie Mullarkey and did his best William Knight, his William Knight expression. What is it? Not expression. Impression.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still drunk from Vegas. So, and then he went out there and just did completely nothing across 15 minutes, which was disappointing because, I don't want to say I was that impressed with him, but I thought he looked solid. Like, this guy can go out there. He hits really hard. Would you call him the Argentinian Drew Dober?
Yeah, dude, he looks exactly like Drew Dober. If you bring up the Tapology picture on Prado, it's like, holy shit, that's fucking Drew Dober's cosplaying as an Argentinian dude. And I said I want to see these dudes in the same room at the same time because I don't believe that they're not the same person. Yeah, they even fight the same weight class, Brady.
It's crazy.
Who's the crackpot and the conspiracy theorist? It's not me. All right.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I can see it. He definitely eats punches with his face, just like Drew Dober. He seems to have a really good chin, just like Drew Dober. And like you said, he looks just like Drew Dober. But not only that, this guy can wrestle too. This guy's really strong. I don't think we got to see like anything, with Prado in his debut against Mullarkey. We didn't get to see, the forward pressure, coming forward, landing big shots. We didn't get to see the wrestling, a ton of wrestling outside of the UFC. We didn't get to see much. He just went in there and just did nothing whatsoever. So I think we do get a better version here of Francisco Prado. Ottman Azaitar, I don't know what to think of the guy. The guy has like 3 fights in like the last 5 years. It's crazy. This guy never fights, and when he does, the fight's over in the first round. I think once again the unders are good in this fight. I think someone's getting served. Someone's getting served pretty early. Azaitar, I think, has a 100%. I think both guys have 100% finish rates. Maybe Azaitar has won 1 decision, but both these guys are very, very, very good finishers. So it's about a pick 'em. I was kind of surprised when I saw that Azaitar was like a decent sized dog, but looks like money's coming in on Azaitar. I think a pick 'em's probably about right because I think Prado actually does potentially have some paths to victory, whether that's taking the fight down to the mat, getting this fight extended, because we don't get to see Azaitar, first of all, fight too often. And then secondly, we never get to see him extended as well. So what happens if, Prado does take this guy down? So I like violence here. Not sure I'm going to play it, but Weezy, I believe you have like your one and only bet on this fight, and you beat some line movement.
Yeah, I got Azaitar. I saw him open at plus 130. And, first of all, he's the more well-tested fighter for sure. I mean, like these guys that Prado has beaten, Jose Vargas, Adrian Peroni, Mauricio Pare, Diego Basualdo. These are low-level South American regional scene guys in Samurai Fight House. He took that short notice fight against Malarkey, took a really long flight all the way to Australia, and there was just nothing there. I mean, he did nothing, and it was not the same fighter that we saw on tape against the much worse competition in Argentina. So we're missing a lot of information on Prado because you can't hang your hat too much on the wins in Samurai Fight House, but you also have got to really kind of take that most recent performance with a grain of salt. UFC debut, there could have been massive nerves. He took the fight on 1 week's notice. He had to fly from Argentina to Australia, cut weight, all that stuff. So the fact that was a 0 out of 10 performance, I mean, it just complete dog shit. There's really not much to know about it. And then you got Azaitar, like you mentioned. This guy never fights. He's had 3 fights in the last 5 years, and those 3 fights have taken place, have been less than 5 minutes total, I think. So, but Azaitar is more well tested. I think his power translates at the higher level a lot more than Prado's has, and he's just fought much better brands of competition. And when you watch the regional scene footage, like from Brave and stuff, this guy's stuffing takedowns. He can absolutely stuff takedowns here. So I do like Azaitar to win this fight. I don't think Prado's ready, but I think one of the reasons that the money's been coming in on Prado is he's 12 years younger. And that's one of those statistically significant statistics that tells you, hey, this guy's going to win 2/3 of the time if he's 10 years younger than his opponent. So I think that's what a lot of people are looking at. But I think in the cage, where is Francisco Prado going to be better than Ottman Azaitar? I would say nowhere. So I'm perfectly happy with a plus 130 on Ottman Azaitar's money line. And yeah, the under 1.5 could be a parlay piece this week, because the way that these guys should fight, we should absolutely see a first round knockout one way or another.
Yep, I think we should as well. The under 1.5, like minus 150. It's not terrible considering Azaitar. I mean, all his UFC fights have finished in the first round. I guess the one concern would, of course, be Prado literally not fighting. And maybe since Azaitar did get knocked out for the first time, maybe he doesn't want to fight as well. And then we can have like a William Knight, Marcin Prachnio type fight. But if these guys do go out there and fight, this fight should finish under 7.5 minutes.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And I'm hoping that it's Azaitar who's the last one standing.
Yep, for sure. I have really no strong lean on a money line. I would probably take the plus money, but it looks like the plus money on Azaitar is about to be gone here. Azaitar plus 102, Prado minus 122. So we'll see where that kind of moves. The fight doesn't go minus 260. Seems generous. Seems like a good parlay piece this week. But yeah, nothing for me on this card yet, and I don't know if I'll have much when it's all said and done. But I think violence in this fight's a solid look, potentially parlayable. Anything else in terms of like props sticking out, Weezy, or just the money line?
No, just the money line on this one so far, because that under is really juicy, So I think it's just, I don't want to lay juice on this kind of a card.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to lay juice, you got to be very confident, and I'm not extremely confident. So we'll see what happens there. All right, let's keep moving on. We have the Norma Dumont going against Chelsea Chandler. Are you all right? Is this card making you sick or something?
No, it's just, a little bit of, coughing here. It's all right, man. It's, we're professionals. We're going to push through this.
And that's how I felt whenever I bet on Luana Carolina. I got a cold for a couple days, but I recovered, and I will recover after this card as well. So anywho, we got Norma Dumont going against Chelsea Chandler. We got Dumont, 32 years old, 5'7", with a 67-inch reach. Chelsea Chandler, 32 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach. We have Norma Dumont, who is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She had a decision win against Felicia Spencer. She had a decision win against Aspen Ladd, a decision loss to Justin Bieber, a decision win against Danielle Wolf, a decision win against Carol Host. As far as Chelsea Chandler, she has 5 in her last 5 fights. She made her debut against Julia Stoliarenko. So there was a comment in the chat earlier that gave me a chuckle, and the comment was along the lines of, this is a number one contenders fight. And what's funny about that is it pretty much is. And it's just wild to think about. Like, Norma Dumont, I think, is ranked like second or third in the featherweight division. I mean, it's wild, man. I have no thoughts for this fight. How about you, Weezy?
Yeah, this is probably this might be the last featherweight fight we ever see in the UFC, honestly, because now that Nunes is retired, do you think that they're going to headline any 145-pound women's fights anywhere? No, they're not. And there's only like 4 or 5 ladies in the division, and it's Dumont, it's Zara Farron.
Oh, Joseph Benavidez, right?
Yeah, Bea Malecki. Bea Malecki, so and Joseph Benavidez. So yeah, what are you going to do here? There's nothing left in this division. And I know that Chandler can make 135. Dumont, I don't think Dump Truck Dumont's making 135 though, so she might get left behind here. Left behind. Yes. Anyway, I'm a big fan of Chelsea. I really like what I saw from her on tape prior to being in the UFC, and then in that, she beat 7 shades of shit out of Julia Stoliarenko. That was ugly, dude. That was an ass whooping. She came in looking really good, and she's controlling her too. Because Chandler is somebody you would think wouldn't want to be in the guard of Stoliarenko, but she had no problem being there and just absolutely pounded her head through the canvas. It was pretty sweet. She landed 21 clinch and ground strikes and absorbed 0 in that fight. So talk about dominance in those control time positions. Norma's tough to take down though. She's got really good takedown defense. The big ass, the wide hips, the strong thighs. It's really hard to take her down, but once you get her down, you can keep her there, because those girls that are built like that are going to have a harder time getting up. But Chandler is just, I like Chelsea Chandler. I think she's super mean. I think she's good everywhere. Good BJJ pedigree. Very powerful on the feet, and she's really mean in the control time positions here. I don't think she's going to fight Norma's fight, and I think she's strong enough to deal with Norma, and I think she's tougher and meaner than Norma. So I'm going with Chelsea here, but I don't think I'm going to get to the money line on it. I'm excited to see Chelsea back in there, though. It's been too long, and I think it's funny, Brady, that they put her on the same card as Aylin Perez, because after Aylin Perez went out there and lost her UFC debut, getting submitted by Stephanie Egger, she was saying that she was gonna destroy everybody, and Chelsea Chandler had just shaved Julia Stoliarenko's ass. She's like, hey, I want some. And Aylin Perez was like, no, you have not earned that right. After Aylin Perez lost her debut and Chandler came in destroying in her debut. So I would like to see if there's going to be any backstage drama here, because I bet Chelsea Chandler, when she sees Aylin Perez, is going to be like, hey, you kind of opened your mouth and said you wanted to fight. Now you don't want to fight. I don't deserve it. I'm going to show you who deserves this. And she's going to probably go out there and beat Norma Dumont on Saturday. I like Chelsea Chandler a lot here. I'm picking her to win.
Yeah, so if we were talking ass, Dumont would be minus 800 here.
Yeah.
Chelsea Chandler around plus 650. But we're not talking ass here on Stat Diggers. We're talking money lines, and we have Dumont minus 140, Chelsea Chandler plus 120. And if we were talking ass, Parker Porter would be heavyweight champion of the world, right, and it wouldn't really be close. But again, we're not talking ass, so.
Well, we're talking about an ass card.
Yeah, that is
but we're not actually just talking ass here on Stat Diggers, as much as some of you might want us to just be talking about ass. And we can probably both do it. Maybe that'd be another show idea, Brady. Talking ass with Brady and Weezy, and I think we just became millionaires actually with that idea. That's a good one. Talking ass. I'm writing
talking ass.
Where's my goddamn pen?
Write it down. Actually, I think that's not a bad idea. And we're going to talk ass next fight too, because we have two ass fighters and Josh Parisian and Walt Harris. So yeah, I mean, I'm not touching this fight. Dumont is like minus 140, like I said. And Dumont, I don't know, she just keeps surprising me. Like I wasn't expecting her to go out there and beat like Felicia Spencer.
I wasn't expecting Felicia Spencer to shoot no fucking takedowns. But yeah, she got that win, and she looked really good against Hossa too, didn't she, dude? I mean,
early
that
on,
was a very clean win for her there.
Yeah. But yeah, nothing really sticking out here. It's going to be a pass from a betting perspective, and quite frankly, from a fan perspective. I know you're looking forward to this fight, but it's a Norma Dumont fight. I can't remember one exciting Dumont fight, but Chandler's exciting. So maybe it's going to be exciting because it's a Chandler fight, but I can't remember one exciting Norma Dumont fight. I don't see one. Even the Daniel.
I want Chandler to beat Dumont and then call out Aylin Perez.
Oh, gosh.
That's what I want, especially if Aylin gets that win and starts talking shit. Then I think that'll shut up Aylin Perez.
Yeah. My goodness. All right. Mushroom saying ass ability. I don't hate that. Don't hate it. We need to get stats on that. Stats on the ass.
Then your Uncle Weezy's your man. That's the kind of stats work that I like doing.
There we go. I like it. All right. So we'll move on, Weezy. We have probably the most hilarious fight on the card. Typically, when we get low-level fights like this, we'll get that one fight where, sometimes the jokes just write themselves. And I actually talked to you prior to the show about maybe pitching a show to Netflix. They have, kind of been struggling lately to put out some new content. So I was thinking we might be able to pitch maybe a buddy cop show where Walt Harris and Josh Parisian, they are buddies, and they go on and they get in a bunch of trouble. And I'll let you talk more about it, Weez. So what are we thinking here for this TV show idea with Josh Parisian, Walt Harris?
Yeah, I mean, I think that these guys could have really good on-screen chemistry personally, because, Parisian got a great haircut. And he's acrobatic for a fat man, right? With the spinning fat kicks and the spinning back fists and stuff like that. But the talent just hasn't quite been there yet. 2 wins, 3 losses. One of the wins, a very, very touch and go split decision with Roque Martinez. And I think Roque Martinez could potentially play like the boss hog type character on this show, because he's even fatter than Josh Parisian, so he could be like the big boss man, like the fat man, but then the fat cop in Parisian. And then Harris is a guy who's super talented, but just seems to almost get the cuffs on the guy. But then at the last minute, that guy comes back, puts him on his back. And we know that Walt Harris, every time he's ever been taken down, he's lost the fight. So there are some ideas that might write themselves here, but in terms of writing us a winning ticket, Brady, man, 2-year layoff for Walt Harris. He's 40 years old. So Josh is 6 years younger than him, and he's been a lot more active lately. But, I mean, come on, man. Where is Josh Parisian really better than Walt Harris? I mean, is he going to take him down? Josh Parisian has 5 takedowns in 5 UFC fights, but I think they were all against Alan Badeau, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know what to do here with this. I mean, I think Walt Harris by first round knockout. I think that would be the way to play this.
Yeah. I mean, I was telling you earlier, like if this fight was 3 years ago, Harris would be like minus 700. But 2-year layoff, 40 years old. If he gets taken down, the fight's literally over. If this fight reaches the second round, the fight is over. Josh Parisian, I think he's one of the worst heavyweights in the UFC, but I wouldn't completely count him out here. Like he's only what is he, plus 130, which is just funny to look at. But I think he has a serious chance here just because if Walt Harris does not knock out Parisian early on, he's in big trouble. And Parisian, one thing about him is he is tough. His cardio is okay for heavyweight standards. So I don't know, man. The under 1.5 was actually plus money for a second. It was plus 125. That was like the one thing that stuck out. A couple days ago, that's no longer there. It's minus 125, so I don't like that. I think betting on this fight is just not a good idea. Should Harris go out there and starch Parisian? Yeah, but we were also expecting Harris to starch Tybura. We were expecting to starch, Overeem. And I don't know. Should he starch Parisian? He should, but a lot could go wrong, I think. So I don't know. I'm not betting chalk on Walt Harris. That seems terrible. I mean, that would imagine betting chalk on Walt Harris and he goes out there and Parisian takes him down, gets on top, and Harris quits. I mean, you couldn't look yourself in the mirror. And then at the same time, I'm not betting Josh Parisian to win a UFC fight ever. So this is the biggest 1-800 gambler fight on the card for me. It's a hilarious fight. Hopefully we can hit up Harris and Parisian and talk about that buddy cop show. But outside of that, I don't have much interest in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think Walt Harris by first round knockout could be a great look in this spot. The thing about Harris is, like, we know that Parisian's super tough. That's probably his best quality, is that he's willing to walk through the fire. And at heavyweight, sometimes just walking through the fire for 6 minutes and getting your ass kicked and not going away is actually enough to get a win. And that could be enough to get a win here, Brady. Think about it. I mean, if Walt doesn't get him out of there early, and then like Parisian just kind of leans on him and gets a foot sweep or a trip, winds up on top early in the second round, that might be it. But I do like Harris to win here. He's so explosive. He's got 9 UFC knockdowns. If that guy hits you, the ref is going to jump in. Because, I mean, like, whether it's the kicks, whether it's the punches, he's fast for a big man. He's explosive for a big man. He's athletic for a big man. And he hits hard. He's got bricks for fists and legs. So I think Walt Harris probably gets Parisian out of there in the first round via knockout. And if he doesn't, this fight's going to get sloppy and it's going to get really entertaining, in my opinion.
What's your definition of entertaining, man?
Entertaining is 2 fat men completely out of breath, covered in blood, trying to kill each other while throwing overhand rights that you could time on a sundial because they're so tired. That's entertaining to me. That shit is funny to me, Brady.
Yeah, my goodness. Oh, by the way,
like Roque Martinez versus Josh Parisian. That was a funny fight. That was a sloppy fight, a bloody fight. And I think that this could get like that if Walt doesn't get him out of there early.
Yeah, that fight was only funny because we didn't have money on it, though.
Yeah.
We had money on it. It wouldn't be so funny no more, right?
Dude, I had money on Parisian in that fight. I laid juice on Josh Parisian in that fight. And I had my head in my hands when that split decision was being read because I know I made the wrong bet. It cashed. It cashed, but it was a terrible bet. And from there on out, I was like, oh, boy, man, this guy Parisian. He still fought hard for the full 15 minutes. That's what you're going to get out of Parisian.
You won't get that out of Harris at all.
Nope.
Not these days. Like, it was over. Once Tybura got him down in the first round, it was over.
Yeah.
Volkov got him the second round, it was over. Overeem got him the second round, it was over. Parisian survives 5 minutes. He's going to win the fight.
He could definitely win this fight, especially if he can get a takedown in the second, because that's how you beat Walt Harris. You take him down and you get on top of him, and he cannot get back up.
Yep. Harris first round knockout plus 155.
Yeah, it's not quite juicy enough. Maybe if FanDuel will give us a plus 200 or something like that.
Did you know Walt Harris works at Taco Bell in Lexington part-time?
I don't believe that. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm not going to talk shit about a dude that had his stepdaughter murdered. So
I don't know. I never heard about that either.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. All right, we can move on to the next fight. That was rough. Doesn't get much better. We have Albert Duraev going against Jun-yong Park. We got Albert Duraev, 34 years old, 5'11" with a 75-inch reach. Jun-yong Park, 32 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. We got Park 2 years younger. We have Duraev with a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. We get Albert Duraev is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He had a decision win against Roman Kopylov, a knockout loss against Joaquin Buckley, a decision win against Chidi and Jaquani. As far as Jun-yong Park, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. The decision win against Tafon and Chukwi. The knockout loss against Gregory Rodriguez. A decision win against Eric Anders. Submission win against Joseph Holmes and Dennis Tuolumne. So Albert Duraev got a win in his last fight, but I think it was one of those fights where Chidi just did not show up at all. Chidi went in there and just did absolutely nothing. Would have liked to see Chidi go out there and actually fight that night, but he didn't. But Duraev did go out there and get the win. Yeah, pretty close fight here. I actually like the Park side here. I think Park. I like the volume out of him. I like the cardio, the durability out of Park. Duraev, I do question his cardio and durability. He's been finished 4 times. I just think Park probably has more ways to win this fight, and Park is around like -155. So, I don't know, Weezy. What's sticking out here in this? Believe it or not, this is a co-main event.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been trying to short both of these guys lately. Dude, I actually bet on Dennis Tialulin against Jun-yong Park.
Oh,
yeah. 1 unit at plus 205, and holy shit, was that a bad bet. I bet on Eric Anders against Jun-yong Park. Now, that was a good bet at plus 170. Just didn't cash, but I thought Eric did win that fight. And then with Duraev, like, he took 3 years off or something between the Struess and the Bittencourt fights. And then he's on DWCS, and he just looks absolutely phenomenal. He takes down Bittencourt, passes the guard, ground and pound, gets the submission. And I'm thinking, here's another Russian dude that can wrestle, chain wrestle, put it all together, use that great grappling game, suffocate his opponents on the ground, wear on them. And then I found out that he doesn't do any of that shit at the UFC level. Everybody talks about, Duraev, he's going to chain takedown attempts together. What? This guy he's so lazy. He's got 5 takedowns in 3 fights, and he's supposed to be a wrestler. He's getting them at less than 25%. A lot of the attempts look flat out lazy to me. So I don't think he's that good of a wrestler up here at 185. I think Jun-yong Park will be the much better boxer. He'll be good in the pocket. I don't know, man. I'm not blown away by either one of these guys, but like with Duraev, bad first round against Kopylov, completely gassed out in the 3rd round against Kopylov. Against Buckley, he had nothing for Buckley in that fight. And then after the 2nd round, he was injured. Buckley had really messed up one of his eyes. And the doctor's talking to him, asking him if he can see out of the eye. And he's turning his back on the doctor and just walking back and forth. He just didn't want to be there. I don't think you'll ever see Jun-yong Park looking like he doesn't want to be there. And even though Jun-yong Park doesn't have the best takedown defense, I don't think you can really count on Duraev to chain wrestling attempts together at 185. I don't think he's as good of a wrestler or as committed of a wrestler as everybody says he is. And I know that he doesn't have the fucking gas tank to push a wrestling heavy game plan here. So I'm less unimpressed with Jun-yong Park at this point. I think that I can count on him being there for the full 3 rounds. I know that he's very durable. I know that he's got a ton of heart. I know that his boxing is going to be better than Albert's, and his hands are going to be faster, and he's going to throw more volume. 16.07 distance strike attempts per minute for Jun-yong Park, while it's only 8.69 for Duraev. So with Jun-yong Park, you just got a guy that does more. He even is attempting 4.5 takedowns per 15 minutes, while Duraev is attempting 7.88. So even Duraev doesn't attempt that many more takedowns than Jun-yong Park. So, but Duraev has done a good job. He's winning 93.5% of the control time positions that he's in. But he's fought 3 pure boxers in Kopylov, Buckley, and Chidi Njokuani. So if Jun-yong comes out here and even tries to wrestle a little bit himself, I think he can make Duraev quit halfway through the 2nd round, because I just don't see the durability there from Duraev. I don't see the heart there from Duraev. And I don't see him being particularly dangerous unless he can get takedowns and get to his opponent's back.
Why is this a co-main event?
Because it's this card.
This
is the co-main. This is probably the main event.
At least
think about it. Just in terms of talent, Duraev at least has 20 professional fights. Jun-yong Park at least has 21 professional fights. These guys kick everybody's asses on the card. Think about that.
This card is not Josh Parisian.
Yeah, Parisian. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Park dances around him and fucking picks him apart, probably.
That spinning fat kick, though, it might land.
That spinning fat kick. If he lands that, dude, I'm gonna lose my mind. I promise you that.
No, it's funny. Parisian does some crazy stuff. Like he's like athletic for heavyweight, like spinning fat fists, spinning fat kicks.
Yeah,
a lot of spinning stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't just want to sit there and throw jabs. Like he's trying to take you out. He's trying to throw creative, unorthodox techniques that catch you by surprise, and you never know if he can do that.
So we have a first in Stat Diggers history here, Weezy. So typically when we do our show, what I love to do is I love to take notes, as do you. I love to take notes. I love to write down what I'm looking to bet for this week. And then I'm actually, for the first time in show history, going to release my notes here to the public. Are you ready?
I can't wait.
UFC Vegas 77 notes.
Let's go. Let's go. And that's how much money you're going to lose.
There it is.
0.
There it is.
0. That's right. And that's what it's about. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what I'm thinking about doing this week? I was telling Brady this. I'm on a 2-week winning streak. I've got Ottman Azaitar at plus 130. What I'm thinking about doing is betting Prado at minus 108, locking in a 0.08 unit profit, and then bragging all week about how I'm on a 3-week winning streak now.
There you go.
I
don't mind that idea.
2 bets. One of them's guaranteed to lose. The other one's guaranteed to win. And we just take that. We take home like that less than 1/10 of a unit, and we chalk it up as a winning week. And then we tout it on Twitter, DM for prices and premium packages. Your boy Uncle Weezy's on a roll.
I like where your head's at. I'm also on a 2-event winning streak. So what I'm thinking about doing is this right here. 1 unit. McKinney. Fight doesn't go decision.
There you go.
Minus 500 to win 0.2 units. Winning week.
You'll be winning more than me. You prick. You're going to do that on purpose so that you could be a 0.2 and I could be a 0.08. Damn it. Another week where you one up me. Come on.
But it's not a bad idea. 1 unit on McKinney fight doesn't go. Take your winning week and move on to UFC London. It's not a terrible idea. I
love that idea, dude. That cashes.
And by the way, I'm half joking, but I'm also half serious.
I know. It's one of those cards, as content creators who are doing work every week, Brady, we do see cards that are more bettable than the others. And it's our job to be like, yeah, you guys, Evan Elder probably wins the fight, but minus 315 is fucking crazy. And every time that we're telling you guys that some line is crazy, most of the time it's crazy. They might cash, but like if you're laying minus 400 on somebody and then they win a split decision, that's a bad bet. It's a bet that cashes, but it's a bad bet because you don't want to bet minus 400s that barely eke out fights. And this card is just filled with so many landmines. How did I not know that guy was on a 2-year and 7-month layoff? It's not surprising when they come back and they perform in an unpredictable manner.
Yep, it's just one of those cards, man. Just not a ton really sticking out, to be honest. And by the way, I feel like it's fitting to bring up this. By the way, what a performance from Alexander Romanov. Went out there, striking masterclass across 15 minutes. What did he get his brown belt or his black belt?
Well, I think he got his black belt, actually.
Got his black belt. So I just want to take this time to shout out Alexander Romanov. Went out there, got that black belt in that win, and beat Blagoy Ivanov, which, by the way, I told you this, Weezy. So I was in Vegas. We were out and about late. It was like probably 4 a.m. Vegas time. We get an Uber, and the Uber driver is apparently Blagoy Ivanov's like best friend. And he was like, "Yeah, you watch the fights tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I'm a big fan of Blagoy Ivanov. I'm one of his best friends." And he was like, "I put 1,000 on Blagoy Ivanov." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I was like, "He's really tough." And he was like, "Yeah, very, very tough." And then he starts pulling up pictures of Blagoy Ivanov and stuff. It was pretty cool. So,
no kidding.
Yeah, ran into Blagoy, one of his best friends apparently. So that was pretty funny. At like 4 a.m. too. So
that's where you meet all the interesting people in Vegas at 4 a.m., man. I've been there.
It's very, very dangerous out there late at night, but
dangerous, not necessarily like you're going to get robbed. Dangerous for like what you might do with your own money in Vegas. That's the danger, the bad decisions that you might make.
Absolutely. All right. Enough of that. I say we move on to what they're saying is a UFC main event, but I have to highly disagree. So we have Holly Holm going against Mayra Bueno Silva. We have Holly Holm, 41 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. Mayra Bueno Silva, 31 years old, 5'6" with a 66-inch reach. Holly Holm is 3-2 in her last 5 fights, a knockout loss against Nunez, decision win against Pennington Aldana, decision loss against Ketlin Vieira, decision win against Yana Santos. As far as Mayra Bueno Silva, she is 3-1 and 1 draw in her last 5 fights, draw against De La Rosa, decision loss against Mana Fioro, decision win against Yanan Wu, submission win against Stephanie Egger, and then a submission win against Lena Landsberg. Pretty big step up in competition for Silva, going from, Lena Landsberg, Yanan Wu, Egger's decent, Fiora's very good, De La Rosa, to Holly Holm, who's, always been fighting the best in the division for pretty much her entire career. I feel like this fight's going to look one of two ways. I feel like it's either going to be Holly Holm just outclassing Mayra Bueno Silva across 25 minutes, making her look silly, stuffing all the takedowns, outstriking her, just dominating this fight. Or I feel like Mayra Bueno Silva like arm bars Holly Holm and wins pretty easy. So Holly Holm, she's 41 years old, almost 42, but she's still like looking good. Like remember that Aldana performance? She went out there. That's like the best she ever looked in her entire career. Beat the crap out of Aldana across 5 rounds. And the Yana Santos fight, went out there, looked really good as well. Yana Santos, she proved that she's not a complete bum yet. So I still think at 42 years old, Holly Holm still has it in her. But Mayra Bueno Silva, she's younger. She's super dangerous. If she gets this fight down to the mat, it could be some serious problems. So I'm not betting this fight. A spot that I did have circled prior to looking into anything was like the finish only for Mayra Bueno Silva, but it's minus 200. They're kind of all over it. I think it's Holly Holm by decision, or Silva probably gets an armbar. Weezy, what are your thoughts on what they're saying is this main event? But again, I highly disagree.
Yeah, UFC, what the hell are we doing here? I'm calling Mayra Bueno Silva by sub here. She's so dangerous. Her guard is so dangerous. And, the thing that I'm like a little bit confused about Holly Holm with lately is she seems to be almost entirely depending on her grappling now. It's like she doesn't trust her striking, which to me is very troubling against Mayra Bueno Silva. I don't want to see, if I'm on Holly Holm, I do not want to see Holly Holm attempting takedowns. You do not go in this woman's guard. Plain and simple. I don't care who you are. It's a bad fucking decision. You better, if you're taking her down, be in half guard immediately. Otherwise, her guard is just, it's like being, playing tug of war with a python. You're just it's gonna end really badly. The knee bar that she got on Lena Landsberg took her about 10 seconds to set up. And there were only 15 seconds left in the round when Lena went into her guard. So the fact that Holly Holm is now 41 years old, she's 10 years older than Mayra Bueno Silva. So they're at 2 different places in their career. Myra's striking's all right. She's a shootbox girl, so she's going to come forward. She's going to eat one to take one, to eat one to give one. And then she's also very dangerous on the ground. And we saw her actually attempt her first takedowns in the last 2 fights. So it was interesting to see Mayra Bueno Silva get 2 takedowns against Lena Landsberg and be able to dominate from top position. I think that whenever this fight goes into the grappling, that we're going to see Mayra Bueno Silva looking very good. And her fights take place in control time positions 43% of the time. For Holly Holm, it's about 30% of the time. But I just think Myra's just so much more dangerous. Why would I lay juice on the older fighter when the older fighter is, plus 170 to win on the finish only prop? I mean, that just tells you who's the more dangerous fighter here. I just think, I'm going to be looking to play Silva by sub. I just don't think that this is a woman that you want to be anywhere near the ground with. She's far too dangerous there.
Yep. I mean, that's if you play Silva, that's probably how you play it. Silva by sub is plus 275. Probably her win. I really struggle to see Silva like winning a decision here. I really struggle to see her knocking out Holly Holm. So yeah, I think it's sub. Probably armbar.
Yeah, I think that's her win condition here. So I think you can get, a half unit down on that and win over a unit without having to risk a lot. And you've got probably about 3 rounds where Silva can get that sub. I mean, if it goes past the 3rd round, we just don't know what Mayra Bueno Silva is going to look like. We don't know how her conditioning is going to look. But I don't think Holly Holm trusts her striking anymore. I mean, even in the Ketlen Vieira fight, Brady, she just held her up against the cage the whole damn fight. She should have been styling on Ketlen Vieira at range, But it's also important to note that that was a total trash decision. Holly Holm is on a 4-fight winning streak right now with her last loss coming to Amanda Nunes. So, Mayra Bueno Silva taking a massive step up in competition. Wu Yanan, Stephanie Egger, Lena Landsberg, the last 3 fights. So, but I think she's live to submit anybody in this weight class right now. So I'm going to pick her to win by sub.
Nothing wrong with that. All right. We did it.
Yes.
We did it.
And that was so hard, Brady. I think I'm done for the week. I think I'm retiring from capping fights for 1 week. This was enough. This talking about this for 1 hour, 56 minutes and 1 second, which is where we're at right now, Brady. That's as much as I'm doing this week on this card.
I mean, I did write down one spot though. 1 unit on McKinney fight doesn't go the distance, minus 500. You heard it here first on StatDigger.
That's cashing.
I think it might. I mean, it's a little out there, a little bit of hot take, but I think it might just come through this Saturday. My goodness, I'm sure a lot of spots will start to like. What's the reason? Sometimes we go on the show and we're like, oh, nothing's really sticking out. It's because of Bet Online. They just don't offer many playable props. And once like FanDuel and DraftKings get stuff out, I'm sure stuff will stick out. But as of now, nothing really sticks out besides that McKinney fight doesn't go. 1 unit to win 0.2.
I might be joining you on that one too.
Like I said,
Ottman Azaitar. Give me those 1.3 units, baby. That's what I need.
Just hedge out and get yourself a winning week. Sit back, relax, make yourself Paloma. I'll make my appletini with the umbrella.
Yeah, there we go. Now we're cooking with gas, Brady. Now we're gonna make this the best card of the year.
Let's go. I don't think I might not watch this card. So my father-in-law is having a concert, so I might be going to that concert. So I might even miss this card. Which, if I'm gonna miss a card, this is
the one.
This is the one. But we have UFC London next week. UFC London is looking fire, which. I got to be careful with saying that because it seems like the past couple cards in London have like sucked. Remember there was that first card years ago that was just amazing that they had to bring another card back to London. I think the last 2 like really sucked, but hopefully this one's good on paper. It's great. And then we have UFC 291, which is going to probably not beat UFC 290 in terms of how exciting it is, but I think it might compete a little bit. So 2 really good cards coming up. We don't have to go all in on this card. We're in the mix of like a 17-week stretch. I think this is like 6 cards in of that. So we still have a long way to go before we get 1 week off here in terms of UFC.
Yeah, and that's why I'm taking this week off after Stat Diggers tonight, Brady. But I'll be back next week. And yeah, I'm gonna be looking at this card when the props drop on other sites and see if we can find anything else to put together here. We talked about this enough to have some other spots maybe stick out. Maybe a Harris first round knockout, maybe a Mayra Bueno Silva sub. And then there's some plus money, underdogs that I think have got some value. So maybe we'll find a way to make some money on this card. And it's always more enjoyable when we win money. Yep,
for sure. So Weezy, I know you're taking the rest of the week off. Nobody blames you for it, but where can they find you?
Hey, Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel, Pub Sports Radio every damn week, the MMA Engine, pretty much every damn week. So that's where you can find me. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe to Pub Sports Radio if you haven't already. And let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas. What the hell are we doing?
Agreed. I'm going to be getting out my full card breakdown probably Thursday. Still want to dig in a little bit more on some of these fights, unfortunately. So that'll be out on Thursday and then live stream Friday and Saturday. So just a little bit behind because of Vegas. I needed to take a whole day off just to recover. And then I had to tape this, whatever this card is as well. So, but as always, it should be a fun time. If you guys can, on your way out, smash the like button, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We will talk to y'all very soon, and best of luck for UFC. What the hell is this?